Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. In our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center, we'll see a cloudy day ahead, mild conditions, fog this morning, especially north and west. Showers and thunderstorms could creep up on us in the late afternoon, early evening, high of 69. Currently 51. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, and your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. When you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 2 on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Text from a business owner in Illinois about taking the PPP loans. We're running at 50% of normal business. I applied for the loan, not the forgivable loan, not for me, but for my employees. There is zero forward visibility right now. I don't know what Friday, next week, or next month look like. I've got 14 employees and their families. That's over 30 miles to keep fed. It would be irresponsible of me not to file when every other small business is filing. Yeah, I agree with that. That's an important point, too. The small business owner operator who lives this understands. There's no horizon. There's no stability. I don't know what's coming next. So even if I'm in a relatively good position that I can operate my business at some level, even at 50%, better than some businesses that are shuttered completely, number one, the federal government wants me to keep employees on the payroll. Number two, I can only do that with support, even if my business were running full time, because I'm not making any money. Me personally, there's no profit margin for me. So this makes perfect sense. In addition to, look, Larry Kudlow saying yesterday, prayerfully, this is the range before restrictions are eased and our economy can begin opening up again.
Prayerfully, maybe 4 to 8 weeks is the maximum, and we can come out on the other side with a very strong recovery.
So who knows what the next 4 weeks on the low side will bring for businesses, which is why President Trump made this announcement yesterday.
We're way ahead of schedule. The Paycheck Protection Program has been incredible. So based on the incredible success of the program, I'm announcing that I'll be asking Congress to provide an additional $250 billion for the Paycheck Protection, which will help keep Americans employed to facilitate a quick and full recovery.
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Steve Moore, noted economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, and author of Trumponomics, Inside the America First Plan to Revive Our Economy, which you're going to need to add some chapters to that book. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys. And by the way, I very rarely disagree with this president, but I got to tell you that this Paycheck Protection Program, PPP as they're calling it, the loan program that turns into grants, you heard it first here on the Dan and Amy show. This is going to turn into the biggest federal fiasco since Obamacare.
Why?
And that's saying a lot. This program is a disaster. By the way, it's only been, 8 or 10 days since we passed this lemon.
Yeah.
Now they have to go back to Congress for $250 billion more money. And I want to explain to people why this is happening, Dan and Amy, and why this is such a rotten program. People like Arthur Laffer and I and Steve Forbes endorsed the idea of a loan program to help businesses like the ones you were talking about, Dan, who don't have any revenues, don't have any customers, that were once healthy, to be able to get a loan for 6 months or a year to get through this crisis. What happened, however, is that this has become, they have this idiotic program where if you keep on your payroll, the loan becomes a forgivable loan,
Right.
essentially a grant of money. So what is happening is, we have half of the business that actually are running and operating, and then the other half are comatose. The healthy businesses are all running to the window at the bank to get the free money. And I can't tell you how many calls I'm getting, Dan, every day I'm getting 20, 25 calls from business owners saying, how do I sign up for this free money? These are businesses that weren't going to lay off their workers in the first place. I want the free $5 million. I want the free $10 million.
Right.
And that's why the system is overloaded. And the businesses that you're talking about, Dan, that actually need the loans can't get them.
Yeah,
right, because they're clogging the system.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. And Steve, you should understand this. Government is a blunt instrument. And so the only way to do this with the speed required to actually get to the businesses that are in need of the money to keep employees on the payroll and to have a prospective future for their business was to do this one size fits all. It's similar, frankly, to what we effectively did with the individual checks at one basic income threshold level. The idea that they could texture this like what you're saying to prioritize those businesses based on their relative health, the relative health of their bottom line, there is no way that would happen with any due speed. And so you would have had exponentially more than 10 million people filing for unemployment and exponentially more businesses that are not going to reopen at present if we were still waiting for this program to be cobbled together.
Well, Dan, what are you doing? Apologizing for these guys? I mean, come on.
No,
this is a program. We should never have turned this into a grant program.
Why?
You want this to?
Why would I go? Why would I go in debt to make my payroll? Why don't I just tell my employees you're gone and collect unemployment?
Not to make your payroll, to make sure that you don't go into bankruptcy. That was the reason that Laffer and Forbes and I supported the program. We want to simply give bridge loans to businesses so they don't have their creditors taking away their assets and they have to go into Chapter 8 bankruptcy. That was the idea. It doesn't matter if if employee isn't producing anything, what's the point of having them on the payroll? Frankly, I'm not trying to be hard.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I do. I appreciate it, and I'm not saying. And you're not being hard-hearted. I get it. This is just about economic efficiency. But what I'm saying is, the reality on the ground is, if you have that many more people unemployed than we already have, you know what the costs are in a real way on the ground in reality of trying to get people back employed on the back end. So this was the whole move to try to keep them employed on the front end.
Now here's what's going on though with the other stupid program is the money that we're doling out through these unemployment and the $600, $1,200 checks. We wrote a paper recently showing that basically you've got a situation where a lot of workers now, you can't make this stuff up, are better off financially staying unemployed than actually going back on the job. I mean, how stupid is that? And even the people who are getting 100% pay. I mean, I like to use the example of a friend of mine who has a construction company. He has about 100 employees. So let's say 50 of them go back to work in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks when we get the economy up and running again. And the other 50 to say, hey, why should I go back? I get 4 months of free pay whether I work or not. How is that fair to the 50 who have to get up 6:30 in the morning and do a hard job, and then the other 50 who sit home and watch TV, they get paid the same amount of money? I mean, it's just a ridiculous program. And you're right, Dan. Whenever we do, to quote my friend Art Laffer, whenever you do anything in a crisis mode, or when you do something when you're drunk, you make really bad decisions. And that's what the government has done here. And for the Trump to say, oh, this is an incredible program, it's working so well. No, the wheels are coming off of this. And what are we going to do? Borrow $4, $6, $8 trillion? I mean, we got to get the economy open. And Trump has made a mistake in listening to these quote health experts who are telling them keep the economy shut down through June, July. That's ridiculous. Last night on CNN, Emmanuel, not Rahm Emanuel, but his brother was on saying, this is going to last 18 months.
Right.
18 months.
No, it can't. People will be jumping out of buildings
or
running into trains.
Weeks. Yeah, but okay.
Yeah. Well, wait. Well, I wanted to ask this question about companies that are doing well, trucking companies.
Yeah.
Why are they applying for these grants?
I mean, it's free money.
Because it's free. It's free. Here's what happens, Amy. Let's say you've got a payroll of $3 million a year. And let's say you're a trucking company and you're running at full speed right now, because as I said, about half the companies are still up and running. About half are kind of corpses right now. And so what's happening is the ones that have the $3 million payroll, they sign up for this grant. They pay the workers exactly what they were going to pay them anyway, and then they get the federal government, that's me and you, pay their payrolls. So we write them a check for $3 million. It's just a stupid program.
Yeah, okay, but Steve, forget my pushback. So you and Laffer.
I mean, you're going, Dan. You are going wobbly on me.
No, I'm not. No. I'm saying you broke it, you buy it, and that's what the federal government did. But I also understand, as I said, the limitation of federal government. But you, Forbes, and Laffer, I'm sure you talked about this with Kudlow. He talked about this with the president. What were the arguments against your position, which ultimately led to the decisions that were made?
Well, first of all, I want to address this point because it's really interesting, Dan, and there's a good debate on the conservative side of the aisle on this, which is, the argument that this is essentially a government taking, right? Is that the point you're making?
Yes,
yeah.
It is.
And I'm sorry. I mean, and there's nobody who doesn't want government taking property from us more than I do. However, in this case, where you have everyone who's being wiped out, what you're doing now is picking winners and losers. Oh, we're going to help the airlines. We're going to help this industry. We're going to help that industry. They're all basically saying it's a big taking. And at some point, what you're just doing is discouraging the economy from getting reopened at all because the government's passing out all of this free money. And it's almost like we're all paying ourselves, and the people are paying are the productive people, and the people who are getting the money are the unproductive people. And that's the whole problem with government.
Yeah, but okay, but yes, there are externalities here to the business owner that's doing well. But you've got a third of the economy that is offline, and we're just sitting here in the first week of April. And it is a government-driven shutdown. I'm not allowed to open my business if I want to and take my chances. Yeah. My customers aren't allowed to take chances. My clients aren't allowed to take chances. Yeah. That is a government taking. That I don't. How else do you? And because some people are still thriving, a fraction of people are still thriving, or it hasn't impacted them economically. That doesn't mean that. That's the explanation for why you shouldn't provide relief. And the relief wait, one more point. And the relief you're providing to these small businesses gives them zero profit margin. You're just allowing them to stay being held harmless with respect to payroll and overhead. No ability to make money.
So here's the bottom line of this: that you and I are, and I think Amy are in whole agreement that we have to get the economy up and running.
We have
again.
to.
And,
somehow, some way, some form of it.
Yeah.
Agree.
Amy, I mean, that's an important point. Look, I think I made this point on your show last week, but I want to make it again. Fred Smith, the CEO of FedEx, who should, by the way, I'm urging the president to make him the kind of recovery czar, because there are so many logistical issues about how you actually reopen the economy.
That'd be a good
But
choice.
Amy, you make a really good point. First of all, absolutely, you have to use the best practices. Fred Smith has 350,000 employees on the ground. These are truckers, they're mechanics, they're pilots, they're all sorts of blue collar workers. Do you know, Amy, out of those 350,000, how many have gotten sick?
I have no idea.
Less than 400. So that's 1 out of 1,000 are getting sick because they're using best practices. In other words, what Fred Smith and FedEx are showing, you can get the economy up and running. You use the best medical practices. Obviously, we're going to need testing. We need to sequester older people and people with chronic diseases.
Right.
Those are the people who are dying. And by the way, as an aside, Dan, why is the government not divulging the information about? In many areas, like in Virginia, you can't get county by county data.
Yeah.
You can't. Have you seen any profile of the death of the age profile of the people who are dying in the United States?
So limited, but your point is well taken.
Right.
And we know. I mean, it's very much like Italy. It's very much like the rest of the
Exactly.
world. Yeah.
Half of the people, about 50 to 60% of the people are over the age of 70 or 75, and that means that. And the other huge percentage are people who have obese or diabetes or other problems. Those are the people you need to protect. But we cannot continue with this situation where we have a comatose economy because, as I said on Laura Grimm's show on Fox last night, there's not going to be an economy, Governor Pritzker, you idiot, that you're going to be reopened because all the companies are going to be bankrupt.
We're definitely in agreement on that. But just one more point on the loan, though. On the loans, I'm not done with this.
Okay.
On the loans,
I am so surprised at you,
No.
Dan. I mean, you're apologizing for these big government trillion-dollar programs.
it's the only thing that's fair given what the government has done. And if you have excess revenue from the loan turned into a grant over payroll and other overhead, then it would be taxable business income.
Okay, look, I'm going to quote Art Laffer and just say, you cannot, you don't create wealth and you don't get an economy healthier by taking money from productive people and giving it to people who are out working.
I understand.
I mean,
Agreed.
it's a simple rule of economics.
Agreed.
You know, there ain't no such a thing as a free lunch. Milton Friedman taught us that.
Yes.
The government can't just take money over helicopters and drop $100 bills.
Hey.
I mean, Milton Friedman is rolling in his grave right now.
We're in total agreement about reopening the economy and hopefully a lot closer to the low end of what Larry Kudlow said yesterday than the high end, because I don't know what it'll look like in 8 weeks. Good grief. But I mean,
I totally agree.
Yeah, but you can't.
It has to. May
You can't
1st,
raise people's livelihoods and not compensate them. What's that? Say that again.
No, May 1. No slipping past May 1, May
No.
Day, May
May
1.
Day.
All right.
That has to be the date that we get the American economy up and running.
And
And by the way, Dan, I love what you just said. Let the individual businesses and individual workers make this decision, not government.
Right, and we could do it safely. You know, people, if you get your hair cut, they can wear a mask and gloves. You know, like our mayor had done. We should be afforded the same rights, the same freedoms.
Yes.
All right. So
By the way, Amy,
Yes,
last
sir.
night I had to have my wife cut my hair, and she just botched it. And I have to go.
Oh,
Well,
can you tweet
mean,
out a picture, please?
Come on.
I want to see
Like,
it.
Will do. You can put it on your website.
We've all seen
Okay,
you
I'll
on
tweet it
we've all
out.
seen you on TV. Your haircut is not your strong point, but all right. Here's the
Dad.
thing.
That's so rude.
Here on May 1.
that hurts.
Hey, to make sure May 1 is the date. Steve, I want you, I want Forbes, and I want Laffer sleeping on sleeping out in front of the White House, and to make sure that we get May 1. How's that?
You got it, my friend. All right. Have
thanks.
a great weekend.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Thanks, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Jerry Boyer of Town Hall Finance for townhall.com. A debate is raging among conservatives over our response to the coronavirus. On the one hand, you hear the point that the cure is going to be worse than the disease. On the other hand, we hear no price is too high to protect life. One side is talking about thriving, the other about surviving. Of course, the sanctity of life is first, but this is a false choice. We can protect life without shutting down our entire economy. How?